Hi everyone, I am Paulo Montero, a health science student at Eduardo Mondlane University, the top university in Mozambique. This video is a summary of chapter 1 of David Buss's book, Evolutionary Psychology. It's a dense book with 13 chapters divided into 6 parts. And in this video, we will focus on the key points from the first chapter. So don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. The part 1 of the book have the name Foundations of Evolutionary Psychology, and its first section, because it's divided into 2 sections, it's entitled The Scientific Movements Leading to Evolutionary Psychology. This chapter starts with a quote of Charles Darwin that will appear here in the video. After this introduction quote, the chapter dives into 4 questions that evolutionary psychology tries to answer. Number 1, why is the mind the way it is? What shaped it over time? Number 2, how is the mind built? What part does it have and how are they organized? Number 3, what do those parts do? What is the mind designed to accomplish? And number 4, how does the mind respond to different environments? How does it adapt its behavior based on the situation? The book points out that exploring the human mind isn't a new idea. Thinkers like Aristotle and Plato were already writing about it in ancient times. In more recent history, theories like Freud's psychoanalysis, Skinner reinforcement theory, and connectionism have all tried to explain how the mind works. These chapters explore how evolutionary psychology brings together insights from various fields related to the mind, such as brain imaging, emotion, behavior, and social interactions. It begins by outlining key developments in evolutionary biology, then traces the history of psychology to show how the integration of evolutionary theory became essential to understanding human behavior. Evolution means change over time, and even before Darwin's famous book in 1859, scientists had suggested that living things could change. One of them, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, came up with a theory called the inheritance of acquired characteristics. Basically, he believed that animals like giraffes stretched their necks to reach higher leaves, and over time, this effort made their necks longer. He thought those changes could then be passed down to their babies. Today, we know evolution works differently, but Lamarck's theory was an early attempt to explain how species evolve. Another theory of change in life forms was developed by Baron Georges Leopold Cuvier. Cuvier proposed a theory called catastrophism, according to which species are extinguished periodically by sudden catastrophes, such as meteorites, and they're replaced by different species. Okay, Darwin's theory aimed to explain why animals have certain body parts, like giraffes' long necks or birds' wings, and why those parts seem perfectly suited to help them survive. The roots of his ideas go back to a 5-year journey he took around the world on the HMS Beagle. Right after finishing his studies at Cambridge. And here's a fun fact that's not in the book. Darwin didn't actually study biology. He graduated with a Bachelor of Arts. Darwin was inspired by Malthus's idea that more organisms are born than can survive, leading to a struggle for existence. Those with helpful traits survive and then pass them on, and over time, this creates adaptations. This process, natural selection, is based on variation, inheritance, and differential reproductive success. Alfred Wallace independently came to the same conclusion, and both of them presented the theory in 1858. Now let's talk about Darwin's theory of sexual selection. Darwin realized that some animals' traits couldn't be explained just by survival advantage alone. Take the peacock fleshy tail, for example. It doesn't help the bird to stay alive. In fact, it's heavy, takes energy to grow, and makes the peacock easier to spot by predators. So why would something like that evolve? To solve this puzzle, Darwin developed a second theory called sexual selection. Unlike natural selection, which is about surviving, sexual selection explains traits that evolve because they help the animal attract mates and reproduce successfully. Natural selection and sexual selection are the main ways species change, but they are not the only ones. Random things like mutations or events that shrink a population can also mix up the genes and cause changes over time. Also, evolution doesn't have a plan. Giraffes don't suddenly grow longer necks because they want to reach leaves. Instead, some giraffes are born with longer necks by chance, and because that helps them get food better, they survive and have more babies with the same trait. Now let's talk about a guy called Hamilton that created a theory called inclusive fitness theory. He theorized that natural selection favors characteristics that causes an organism genes to be passed on regardless of whether the organism produces offspring directly. Okay? The effects on relatives must be weighted by the appropriate degree of genetic relatedness to the target organism. For example, 0.50 for siblings or 0.25 for grandparents and grandchildren and 0.125 for first cousins. I will include a table in the video so you can clearly see how these values are applied. And last but not least, 3 astonishing facts about cultural variability that we can find in this chapter. First, the mainland Chinese prize virginities, whereas the Swedes think about adult virgins are a bit odd. Second, North Americans wear earrings and finger rings, but certain African culture insert bones through their noses, and the Maori of New Zealand tattoo their lips. Third, some Iranian women have veils over their hair and face. Some Brazilian women wear dental floss, bikinis, and cover practically nothing. So with that, my friend, I finished my video. I hope you had enjoyed the video and was very thoughtful and good for you. So I will put more videos like this. This will be a video that will make part of a series that is basically a summary of the chapters of David Buss's book called Evolutionary Psychology. So with that, I finish my video. Thank you so much for your attention, and it's just the start.